my name is Teacher Mary, your teacher of English, and today we'll be looking at trickster narratives. Trickster narratives. And my dear one, I know you can see a picture. That picture is one of what is in that picture? A hare, or what you guys might call a rabbit, and a hedgehog. When you see a rabbit and you hear stories about it, what are some of the stories you've heard? Or what are some of the stories you can remember you've heard when they talked about a rabbit? Many a times, the rabbit, especially in an African setup, the rabbit is used as an animal that tricks other animals, or they refuse to do something, the rabbit or the hare, or any other small animal. If you look at the European literature, they will use the fox. They will use the fox. And that is why they say as sly as a fox, or as cunning as a fox. So my dear one, today we will look at why they say that cunning fox is as cunning as they say, or why is the hare used, especially in an African setup, African literature, why is the hare many a times used to refer as the animal that is tricking many a times the bigger animal, maybe an elephant, a tortoise, it is always tricking. So, and that is what we will be looking at today. So my dear one, a trickster narrative is a story. Remember, a narrative is a story. You can refer to some of the videos that you've done when you're introducing literature, and specifically when you're talking about narratives. Refer to them. So being a story, and you already know that a narrative is a story, so a trickster narrative is a story where the small animal, many a times, the small animal tricks the big animal. Okay? But it is not always the case. It is not always the case. Any can trick any other. It doesn't matter. But many a times, it is usually the small animal tricking the big animal. So, there is tricking each other here. One animal tricks the other. Okay? So, having looked at that and having seen that picture, I'm sure you've remembered so many stories where the hare refused to do this, the hare tricked, see what, things and stories like that. So we will jump into the main thing and we will look at the characteristics or features of a trickster narrative. So, features of a trickster narrative. Features of a trickster narrative. 1. A trickster narrative is short. A trickster narrative is short. Okay? When we say short, it doesn't mean the width. It means the length. The story is not so long. Okay? It can maybe be a page or two at max. So it is short, and yes, it's basically just short. I'm trying to look for another word to describe how short it can be, but I couldn't find any other. So it is short. The other one, it has a moral lesson. It has a moral lesson. It has a moral lesson. Yeah? Especially when the small animal, the small animal tricking the big animal. Yeah? There's always a lesson to be learned there. Okay? Like, for example, you can remember where the hare tricked the elephant and the elephant ended up dying and things like that. So there's always a moral lesson. You need to be cautious when you're dealing with people. You need to be cautious when you're dealing with even people that you call your friends, because many a times the hare pretends to be the elephant or the hyena's friend, or even the lion's friend, Okay? Then the other thing, it uses animals. It uses animals as the main characters. It uses animals It uses animals as the main character, whereby the small animal usually tricks the big animal. But it is not always the case. Sometimes you can be given a story and it is indeed a trickster narrative, but where two human beings are tricking each other. And maybe the one that is tricking the other is one that the society perceives to be of lesser capability, especially physically, physically, muscles, he's not tall, he doesn't have the muscles, he's not well built. So they can use that as well. It is not always that trickster narratives has animals, but many a times, and especially in African literature, you'll see that animals are used as the characters here. Okay? Then what else? From the word trickster narrative, it tests. It tests intelligence, tests intelligence, it tests intelligence versus brown. What do I mean when I say brown? Okay? Versus brown. Brown is strength. Brown is strength. Strength. Yeah? Now, what does this mean? If you look at the hair is short, is a short animal. Yeah? A rodent at that. And look at the elephant. The elephant is huge. Yeah? It's huge, it's tall. Or even look at the giraffe. You wouldn't imagine that the hare has the capability of tricking, of outsmarting such a big animal. But what does it show us? That it doesn't matter how small or big a person is. What matters is what is in their brain. So it tests intelligence. How clever is this animal? Or how clever is this person, so that they cannot be outdone by an animal or even a person that is small in stature or even, all that. So it tests intelligence versus strength. Then the other characteristics, it is passed down from one generation to the other. It's passed down from one generation to the other. Okay? I started listening or I started reading about the hare and the elephant and the giraffe and how it kept on tricking big animals and things like that at the age of 5. And now guess how old I am. So this has been a story that my grandmother was told, a story that my father was told, a story that I have been told, and a story that I am telling my children. And as you can see, I am teaching you the same story. And that is why we say it is passed from one generation to the other, especially by word of mouth. And this is why it falls under oral literature. Okay, my dear one. So what is the one thing that you need to know? This is the main thing that you need to remember when you're talking about trickster narratives. It doesn't necessarily have to use animals. So, question. How do we call the animal that is being tricked, the big animal or the stupid or the foolish animal? How do we call that person? Or how do we call that animal? In 3, 2, 1. We call it or him a dupe. Dupe. Okay, we call him or it or her a dupe. Why? It comes from the word being duped, being tricked. We call them dupe. And how do you call the animal that tricks the dupe? Okay, in 3, 2, 1, we call them trickster. From the word trickster. So my dear one, that was all about trickster narratives. Unfortunately, I can't give you a whole test on it, but please remember its features because these are examinable. You can be asked about them. Also remember the importance of a trickster narrative. And the importance of a trickster narrative will come from the features. And also look at the importance of oral narratives, you can refer to our videos as well. I was your teacher, Miss Mary. Until next time.